My name is Shayna Cosenza. I'm 37 years old, the oldest child, the one people call when something breaks pipes, plans, or promises. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon. My life runs on alarms and checklists, on locker rooms that smell like antiseptic, and nights measured in minutes of sleep. I don't drink much. I run when I can. I save almost everything I make because I grew up learning what panic sounds like when adults try to whisper. At 10, I was the kid translating grown up fear. It'll be fine, I'd say, while my mom cried over late rent. I learned the taste of emergencies, the shape of bills, the relief that came when someone, anyone, fixed the problem. I learned to be useful. That lesson never left me. 2 weeks ago, my parents hit 50 years of marriage. I wanted them to have a real win, not another framed photo or polite dinner. Something solid, something that didn't squeak or apologize. A place where the air smelled like salt, where the floors didn't remind them of coupons and secondhand furniture, where nothing carried the memory of overdraft fees. I found the house by accident, a small blue place perched above the water, slightly crooked, stubbornly warm. White deck, 2 palm trees out front, windows that sang when the bay wind pushed through. 45,000. I closed it in their names, set up the utilities, stocked the fridge, hid a note in the silverware drawer for slow mornings and loud laughter. Love, tea. I didn't tell anyone else, not even my sister. On the morning of their anniversary, I drove down with a cake and a bottle of sparkling cider. The ocean was clear. The sky was that annoying kind of perfect. For once, I felt stupidly happy. Then I pulled into the driveway. There was already an SUV parked there. That wasn't right. The front door stood wide open. The screen banged in the wind. Inside, a child's cartoon blared in the living room, something I hadn't even turned on yet. I stepped in and felt the air change. My mother stood in the kitchen, clutching a dish towel like a white flag. Her eyes were red. My father sat hunched in a chair, shoulders rounded, hands shaking. Boxes crowded the floor. Voices echoed from the hallway. Too loud, too confident. I barely got out. Mom! That's when he appeared. My brother-in-law, Kyle. Bare feet, beer in hand, football shirt like a uniform. He planted himself in front of my father, jabbed a finger toward the door, and yelled, "This is my house. Get out!" From the couch, my younger sister, Julia, laughed. "Relax, Dad. We're just getting settled." The plastic cake lid dug into my palm. Something in me went very, very quiet. Before the room I loved turned into a battlefield, you need the backstory. Julia is 2 years younger than me. In our house, she was the artist, then the free spirit, then the... It's just a rough patch. My parents did what they knew. Sacrificed, defended, minimized. I did what I knew. Covered. First it was textbooks, then a semester, then a down payment for her first apartment, just until Kyle's startup lands. When the startup landed, it landed on my wallet. I paid for braces when their dental plan had a weird deductible. I financed a used minivan when the bank said no. I co-signed a lease after an eviction. My payment app still reads like a diary. Julia, electric bill. Kyle, interview suit. Mia, school trip. Rent again. Just this one last time. Every transfer felt like control, like I could sand down our family's sharp edges. I was wrong. My parents helped too, in smaller, bleeding ways. Mom packed groceries into Julia's trunk and called it cleaning out the pantry. Dad let Kyle use his tools, repairs that somehow always cost more to fix later. The chorus never changed. You know your sister. Not everyone's like you, Shayna. You were born old. During residency, I slept on call room mattresses and sent money over broken Wi-Fi at 2 a.m. because a landlord was threatening to change the locks by dawn. Somewhere along the line, I became a card you swiped without checking the balance. When I found the Seaside place, I planned it like surgery. I put the deed in a trust with my parents as lifetime beneficiaries. I prepaid taxes, prepaid the HOA, replaced the locks. When I looked at the keys in my hand, it felt like holding a life raft. I told Mom and Dad 1 week before the anniversary so they could cry in private. We drove down together. Dad touched the banister like it was a violin he used to own. Mom opened each cabinet and exhaled. "It's yours," I said on the deck. Dad tried to speak. His voice broke. I stayed overnight on a blow-up mattress to test the plumbing. Everything worked. The next morning, I went back to the city to decompress a little boy with a tumor the size of a plum. The house stayed with them. That's when the system did what systems do. Julia called Mom on day 2. "Are you at a beach?" "Whose house?" Mom lied badly. Oh, we're visiting a friend. By dinner, Julia had triangulated the address from a blurry sunset photo on Dad's Facebook. View from our porch. She arrived with Kyle, 2 kids, a dog, and the kind of entitlement you can smell from the driveway. Mom told me later, voice small, they just wanted to see it. Then, they're staying for the weekend. Is that okay? By Saturday morning, Dad's text turned confused. Julia keeps saying family home. Can you come? Then nothing. I didn't pick up the call because I was scrubbed in. The selfie came instead. Julia in my parents' kitchen. Home sweet home. Hat manifesting. On my drive after surgery, I texted Dad, don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. Love you. When I arrived, the front door was already open. Kyle's voice carried up the stairs. You two are old. Stairs are dangerous. This is a family house. And now I was standing there, cake in hand, watching my sister laugh, while her husband tried to throw my father out of the home I bought to give them peace. Kyle finally noticed me. Julia's laughter died. Silence fell so hard it rang. I set the cake on the counter. It looked absurd among takeout bags and toys. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel useful. I felt precise. And I knew this wasn't going to end quietly. No one spoke at first. The cartoon kept playing, bright voices bouncing off walls that still smelled like fresh paint and lemon cleaner. My mother stood frozen by the sink. My father's hands trembled in his lap the way they do when he's furious and trying not to show it. Kyle recovered first. Men like him always do. He took a long sip of his beer, eyes sliding over me like I was a delayed inconvenience. Oh, he said, didn't expect you so soon. Julia leaned back on the couch, legs tucked under her like she belonged there. Relax, Shayna. You always make everything so intense. I set my keys down. Slowly. Deliberately. The sound felt louder than it should have. Who told you this is your house? I asked. Kyle snorted. Family money, family house. Don't make it weird. Julia chimed in, her voice sing-song. We're not asking, okay? We're just updating you. My mother's face crumpled. Shayna, she whispered, can you just explain? Kyle jabbed a finger toward my father. He can explain from the porch. Something inside me locked into place, sharp and cold. Everyone to the living room, I said. Not loud, just precise. The kids muted the TV. Even the dog froze mid-chew. Kyle smirked but followed. He thought this was theater. He thought the room belonged to him. I stood by the mantel, beneath an old photo of my parents cutting a supermarket cake 40 years ago. My pulse thudded in my thumbs. I opened my folder and laid out the first document on the coffee table. Deed, I said, recorded last week. Kyle squinted. In English? The property belongs to the Sam and Ruth Cosenza Life Trust. Lifetime beneficiaries. Exclusive right of occupancy. Julia's smile faltered. Okay, but... I slid the second document forward. Trust instrument. I'm the successor trustee. That means I'm legally obligated to maintain this house for my parents' comfort and to remove anyone who interferes. Kyle scoffed. Bro, try and stop me. I placed the third page down. A color printout. An Airbnb listing. Entire home. No owner on site. Booked through August. Payouts to an account ending in the same digits as Kyle's. Julia's tone turned syrupy. Shayna, come on, we're helping. Mom and Dad could use the cash. I slid the fourth page across. A printed group chat my father had forwarded. We'll get him on board. He always caves if Mom cries. I'll guilt her about med school loans. Julia reached for it. I covered it with my hand. And then the fifth page, HOA rules, highlighted. No short-term rentals. Here's what's going to happen, I said evenly. You're going to pack your things, delete the listing, refund every guest, apologize to Mom and Dad, leave your keys on the table. Julia blinked, then laughed. High, brittle. Or what? Or, I said, I do my job. Kyle puffed up, stepping forward. Duty this, duty that. I don't like yelling, I said. I like precision. I set my phone on the table, screen up, drafted emails, HOA, county recorder, their attorney. A text thread with the locksmith already parked 2 houses down. Kyle's face twitched. You wouldn't. I would, I said. And I already did. Julia's voice cracked. Mom, tell her. This is family. My mother didn't look at her. She looked at me. Do what you need to do, she said softly. Kyle jabbed a finger at my father again. Old man out. I stepped between them. Point at my father again, I said. And the only door you're leaving through is the one being locked behind you. Silence. The doorbell rang. Right on time. The doorbell rang again, sharper this time. Kyle swore under his breath. Julia shot me a look like I'd just committed a personal betrayal. My father didn't move. He sat perfectly still, hands folded, like he was afraid that any motion might give someone permission to erase him. I opened the door. Victor stood there with a small toolbox and a neutral expression, the kind professionals learn when emotions are none of their business. "Hi," I said, "front door and back. Keypad, too." Kyle laughed, loud and hollow. "This is insane." "It's scheduled," I said, just like everything else. Victor didn't ask questions. He never does. While he worked, the house filled with the sound of packing that wasn't planned. Zippers, drawers, the low whine of children who didn't understand why their weekend had turned into exile. Julia followed me into the kitchen. Her voice dropped. "You could have just talked to me." "I have been talking for 10 years. She folded her arms. "You think money makes you the parent? You buy things so you don't have to be a person." I looked past her at my mother, who was wiping the same clean counter again and again. "I bought a home for our parents," I said. "Not a permission slip for you to steal." Kyle refused to hand over the old key until I reprogrammed the keypad in front of him. Each beep landed like punctuation. His confidence drained with every number. Outside, he whisper-yelled at Julia, kicked the curb, blamed everyone but himself. Inside, my mother made tea with shaking hands. "They said it would be easier this way," she whispered. "No stairs for your father." "The hard parts are what make it ours," I said. My father stared out at the water. I should have told them to leave. "You called me," I said. That was the strong part. I canceled every illegal booking, refunded every guest, emailed the neighbors. No short-term rentals at 24K spray. Clean. Precise. Julia tried to spin it online. We just wanted the kids near their grandparents. I didn't reply. Instead, I labeled a drawer "Boring Armor" and slid every document inside. That night, we ate on the deck. My mother told a story about her first apartment and a mouse named Bernard. My father laughed. Unguarded. Real. Texts buzzed. "You made Mom cry." I turned my phone face down. The house exhaled. For the first time, it felt like home. Stop. Continue part 4. Boundaries are not abandonment. The next morning, the house smelled like toast and salt. My father told me he'd slept through the night for the first time in years. My mother sent me a photo of her feet, propped on the deck railing, toenails pink the way they were when I was 5. They looked light, untethered. Julia didn't stop. She filled the family chat with stories about cruelty and greed. She posted quotes about chosen family and financial abuse, vague enough to gather sympathy, but sharp enough to cut. Kyle shared memes about doctors who thought money made them gods. I didn't reply. I called our aunt instead, told her simply the truth. The house belongs to Mom and Dad. It always will. Then I sent one final email to Julia and Kyle. Polite, firm, finished. All contact regarding the property goes through me. You no longer have permission to enter. Any violation will result in immediate action through the HOA and our attorney. I CC'd only myself and set it as an auto-response. 2 days later, another Airbnb notification hit my inbox. Sea Spray Cottage. Kyle had relisted under a new account. I forwarded the proof. 10 minutes later, the listing vanished. User banned. No triumph, just cleanup. Then Julia called. Her voice was small. "We're behind. Kyle lost his contract. We're losing everything." "I won't discuss the house," I said. "So money means more than family?" "Boundaries," I said, "are how I can be family." She hung up. The silence that followed didn't feel empty. It felt healed. 2 weekends later, I drove back down. Fixed a hinge. Labeled breakers. My mother burned pancakes and laughed. My father's hands were steady. "I'm going to tell your sister no," my mom said. "I'm not asking you to choose." "It's not choosing," I said. She nodded. "It's stopping the pretending." Before I left, I printed a small sign and placed it by the door. "Welcome home, Sam and Ruth." If Julia told the story, she'd say I bought a house and ruined the family. That's not what happened. I stopped funding the chaos. I gave my parents peace.